You know, folks, the whole world is talking about Bitcoin. Want to know why? Maybe it's because Bitcoin rose in value over 150% last year, and this is just the beginning. Bitcoin is online investing that anyone can do. Visit bitcoinuniversity.org today. Take a master class. Download the Book of Bitcoin and take your investment portfolio to the next level. Visit bitcoinuniversity.org and discover all that a Bitcoin can do for you. That's bitcoinuniversity.org, bitcoinuniversity.org.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Katz and Cosby. And joining us now is Kellyanne Conway, of course, a rock star. She ran the enormously successful 2016 campaign for President Trump, the first female to win that for a president. Bravo, bravo. And Kellyanne, we're so happy to have you here. What do you make of all the appointments today? My goodness.
It's been quite a flurry, Rita. I'm so happy to be with my friends and this rock star radio show, Rita Cosby and John Katsimatidis. Thank you for having me. Look, if I hear one more left-wing pundit who has gotten every election and every policy detail about Donald Trump wrong in the last 10 years, say he wants loyalists, can anybody point to me the president who picked disloyal people who were also disloyal to their agenda to staff the senior apparatus at the White House and the West Wing and certainly in the cabinet? Of course he wants people who are loyal, but they're loyal to America. They're loyal patriots to the America First agenda. They are going to execute on his very specific promises, Rita and John, to lower inflation, make every day more affordable, stop this nonsense at the border, stop the fact that people are feeling just unsafe in their own communities, including right there in our beloved New York City, get out of these new wars that Biden and Harris got us entangled into, and so on and so forth. So I think nobody's been more clear about what they want to do and what they did do as President of the United States than President Trump. And he's surrounding himself with men and women who are capable to have the authority and the agency in each of these departments and each of these positions to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. John.
Well, the Pentagon, 26,000 people there. We've been talking about it all day long. I guess he doesn't like the generals that are there right now. Is he going to do something about it? What do you think?
Well, he felt a little burnt by the generals last time around, John. He had a general at Department of Homeland Security, John Kelly, had a general at the Pentagon, Jim Mattis. I think things were going well until they didn't. And he just wants to make sure he also, in Pete Hegseth, he's made very clear he's chosen a combat veteran who also is somebody who served abroad, who also loves the is known by our veterans as somebody who's going to stick up for them and have a military that focuses on being prepared for and winning wars, not being laboratories for social experimentation, wokeness, and weakness. Have been infecting our military, have been infecting our Pentagon. Goodness, this country, our commander-in-chief, Joe Biden, didn't even know where Lloyd Austin, his Secretary of Defense, was last year when the guy was in the hospital. I'm glad he's well, but my goodness, if you don't even know where your Secretary of Defense is, and how do we have confidence that the Pentagon is running well? You just made an excellent point, though, John. People are going to start really focusing on both the enormous budgets that these departments and agencies have, and then also just the huge, large staff. And may I just pose an issue that I posed to President Trump a couple months ago? What is this work from home stuff in Washington, D.C.? We're just filled with empty buildings that you and I are paying for as taxpayers. People don't go to work anymore. If you're of a certain age and health stage, if you have a condition, I'm sure you can get an exemption. But get back to work, everyone. Show an example to the rest of the nation. I think that's something else you can count on President Trump for enforcing. But at the Pentagon, we need people who, and I'm not saying everybody there does not believe this, but in every single department and agency, we've got to root out those who are there just for a job, who are going to try to thwart and stop, and worse, as we've seen, President Donald Trump. I'm loving his picks because I think that he is finding people who he has dealt with on a regular basis over a sustained number of years, and he knows, it's very important, he knows how they think, how they manage and lead, and more importantly, they know how he thinks and how he manages and leads.
You know, it's interesting, this Department of government efficiency, Kellyanne Conway. I think it's a brilliant idea. It's exactly to your point. Run by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. They're going to have a lot of work to do. There's going to be a lot of efficiency that they're going to have to go through.
I mean, how often in Washington, Rita and John, do we even find the name of a bill, piece of legislation, let alone a department, where you know what the heck it does by virtue of its name? This one's called the Department of Government Efficiency. It explains the problem and the solution in one word. And for all the celebrities, the singers, the athletes, the movie stars that Kamala, I almost forgot her name. Kamala Harris.
I think a lot of people forgot her name.
I don't think you're going to hear. I think Joe Biden and Jill Biden have forgotten her name too.
He was happy.
A lot of words were said.
Yeah. By the way,
he was
did
happy.
you see?
A lot of words were said. I saw it. A lot of words were said in the Oval Office today, but I think Kamala Harris weren't, easily off the tongues of either of them. But getting back to that, the fact is that she had celebrities around her as she was campaigning, but President Trump had people like Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. They are not seen as celebrities. They are seen as successful job creators and innovators. They are futurists. So a lot of people in this country look at the world's richest man, Elon Musk, including a lot of our young men in this country who are now very highly, deeply politically engaged. And what do they say, Rita and John? They don't say, oh, there's a celebrity, I want to get his autograph. They say, wow, there's a guy who fixes stuff. There's a guy who makes stuff. There's a guy who peeks around corners and sees things the rest of us maybe don't. And guess what he also does? He does a very Donald Trump thing through his strength and resilience. If the rocket doesn't launch, if it melts on it, he just starts all over again. And that really is a metaphor, just as fight after Butler, Pennsylvania, thank God, where the president's life was spared. It's just a metaphor for where we want this country to go. Strength, not weakness. Fairness, not wokeness, innovation and job creation, not this stagnation that you see all across Washington.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, getting back also, Kellyanne Conway, to that meeting, the Trump-Biden meeting today, he looked so happy. Joe Biden looked so happy. He seemed so happy even in the Rose Garden after Kamala lost. How do you read that? It is really fascinating.
Rita, I read it as everyone else does. It's plain and simple that Kamala Harris was put into the number 2 position in this nation, if not the most important jobs in the world, and she blew it. She never really developed a portfolio that we can look at and say, gee, we have confidence in her competence. Then it turns out that she stabbed her boss in the back, and then she ran him over. She ran him over, and then she ran away from their shared record. What were her 2 big lines she feasted on until she couldn't anymore? I'm not Joe Biden. I'm not Donald Trump. It left open the obvious question. Well, then who the hell are you? And when she said, I'm not Biden, I'll be different than Biden, the Bidens heard that, and the rest of the country never heard how she'd be different. So she put herself between more than a rock and a hard place. She put herself up for near certain loss. Donald Trump is responsible for this, certainly. But I think she helped push along the fact that he improved geographically and demographically with such a breadth and a depth unheard of. And it's largely because she flipped one group. College-educated households, really the elites, are the only people who went for her. And I think in the case of Joe and Jill Biden, let's talk about Dr. Jill Biden, as she calls herself, for a moment. This is someone who, when Kamala Harris effectively accused her husband, Joe Biden, of being a racist and a segregationist on the debate stage in 2019, Jill Biden famously said she should go F herself about Kamala Harris. And then here she comes as the vice president. I don't think did such a great job. And then the minute she got
a terrible job, terrible. I agree.
Yeah, she did a terrible job. By the way, Rita, a no-show job.
Yes.
In Washington. I was a student. I examined the public official calendar of the vice president, Kamala Harris, every day, and most days it had little to nothing on it. How is this possible? How is everyone you know busier than the vice president? And now I think the Bidens see her for who she is. She made a mistake in Pennsylvania not taking Catholic Scranton Joe around with her, say to Scranton and some other places. She made a mistake because she looked disloyal and then she looked politically disoriented. I think Jill and Joe Biden over time, they'll be just fine. Their approval ratings will go up a little bit. People will remember that he stepped aside. People will remember that Jill, got out of the press, receded out of view after she lied to all of us. Joe, you did so great in the debate stage.
Way to go, Joe. Way to go, Joe.
Yeah, exactly. So,
you know what, Kellyanne? I can't wait.
I hope we're going to hear about Kamala Harris anymore. I don't think we'll hear about her anymore. And We heard about this. We had to all say second gentleman, second gentleman. If you look at the news reports, we shouldn't be calling him a gentleman at all, second or otherwise.
Yeah. By the way, speaking, you're right, of women's rights, there's a lot in that. You know what I can't wait for, Kellyanne Conway? The book. If Joe Biden or Jill Biden writes the book of what happened that day. And Kellyanne, we just have a little bit left. Judge Weinberg, real quick, if you could.
A quick take. What do you think of the president-elect's nominees so far?
I think they reflect his will to move with energy and alacrity and not worry about betrayals from inside, Judge. And this is important. People are saying, well, it's just about personal relationships. It's just about who his family likes. No, these are people he has dealt with over time in the trenches and over some of the more difficult, darker days for President Trump out of office. So they understand him. He understands them. And I think with that 53-seat majority in the Senate, that President Trump's nominees have a very good chance of being confirmed.
Yeah, I do too. Kellyanne Conway, we love you. The first female to run a successful presidential campaign, making history all the way around, my friend. It's so great to have you here. Kellyanne, thank you.
Janine Pirro here for Colonial Metals Group. Colonial Metals Group helps Americans protect their future with the most trusted store of wealth in human history, physical gold and silver. If you're retiring or retired, go to colonialmetalsgroup.com/Pirro for your free Janine Pirro Colonial Metals Group Retirement Protection Kit, or call 800-965-8004. 800-965-8004 now to receive a free home safe and up to $7,500 in free silver.